Hello guys and welcome to the United's Glory. In this video we're going to talk about the potential of Manchester United signing either Jack Grealish from Aston Villa or Jadon Sancho from Borussia Dortmund. Obviously last summer's major transfer news was that Manchester United were going to sign Jadon Sancho. Borussia Dortmund wanted £108 million to sign Jadon Sancho and bring him to Manchester United, to bring him to Old Trafford. Manchester United didn't budge and didn't offer that amount of money, which was why we never got him. We were trying to get a coronavirus price cut, I guess, and it didn't work with Borussia Dortmund. But that situation seems to be changing dynamically at the moment. But then, of course, there's Jack Grealish, who's continuing to impress for Aston Villa. He just looks like a superstar in the Premier League. He simply is outgrowing Aston Villa. And what I see when I see Jack Grealish is a Manchester United player. He's proving it in the Premier League week in, week out. He's a very good player, but he's being muted with a transfer to Manchester United. There's a lot of reports saying Manchester United are interested in signing Jack Grealish still. Apparently we did make contact with Aston Villa last summer, but they priced us out of a move as well. So we were priced out of both moves really. But with the current footballing economy and how it is due to the pandemic, this summer teams might be willing to take a bit less money for their players, because obviously teams all around the globe, especially Premier League clubs, even Borussia Dortmund as well, have been heavily affected by no crowds attending their grounds. So both transfers could be on. Now, I put the question to you. Who would you rather sign, Jack Grealish or Jadon Sancho for Manchester United? Jadon Sancho's form has massively dipped this year for Borussia Dortmund. Even Borussia Dortmund are making public statements claiming that Jadon has had his head turned by Manchester United. And I hate to say it, because I was very critical of the Glazers and Woodward this summer for not forking out the money, but it looks like it might be working out for them. Because not only do Borussia Dortmund have a player that doesn't want to be at the club anymore, they also can take advantage of the fact that, his form has massively dipped. So his price value will fall in extension, really, as well as the acceptance now that this coronavirus pandemic that's causing grounds to basically have football matches without a crowd has been continuing and doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. So Sancho's price could drop. He definitely won't be worth 108 million this summer. Another year of his contract's run down. They have an unhappy player. That transfer's well on, providing Jadon Sancho continues to, force a move. But, it's working out for the Glazers because they didn't pay that money up front. I would say he was worth that last year, especially given his age. Maybe not on talent alone, but given his age, he was worth that. But, it's working out for them because Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has somehow got Manchester United to the top of the league with the arrival of Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba arriving at top form, Cavani having an impact, Rashford going from strength to strength. Even Martial's not on top form, but he's contributing. We're top of the league, so we're getting away with not signing the players we should have signed in the summer. But of course, then there's Jack Grealish. Like I said, he's really impressive. Looks like a superstar. He looks like a Manchester United number 7 to me. He was very impressive in his performance against us on New Year's Day, I believe it was. Who do you sign out of these two players? Both of them have big futures. But basically, top clubs get both. That's how top clubs operate. We are a top club, we just have very stingy owners, and it's hard to argue a case against them at the moment because of how all the season seems to be panning out, but ultimately top clubs get both. So what would be the general cost of players? Like I said, Jadon Sancho's price has dropped. We were quoted, I believe, 80 million. Well, this is what was being reported, quoted 80 million for Jack Grealish last summer, which was too much last summer, but he's proven that he could be worth it now. It all really depends on where the footballing transfer economy goes. Does it drop a little bit? Then obviously it wouldn't be worth 80 million. But the few years before the pandemic, the price tags were just elevating to stupidity. So in that respect, you could say Grealish would be worth 80 million after the current season is having, especially if he goes on to have a good Euros with England. And I expect he would, because I just think he's a good player. You could get Jack Grealish for 60 million as well. So both of them together, you could probably get both of them, max amount 150 million. The problem with Borussia Dortmund, we don't really have any players to give to them to bring that price down, any players to exchange that they might want. Whereas Aston Villa, we probably do. if we don't have long-term plans for Tuanzebe, Aston Villa are a very big fan of Tuanzebe. I think Jesse Lingard would do very well at Aston Villa. They are a mid-table club. I actually like Aston Villa. I think they play good football. They are a mid-table club, and Jesse Lingard will be a very good mid-table player. I like Jesse Lingard, but his time at Manchester United's done. It's done. He isn't ever going to force his way into that first team. So, if he's worth, say, 15, 20 million in this current market, if we only have to pay, say, 70, 75 million for Grealish, we're getting him for 55 million. I mean, just look at another player we got for 60 million, Bruno Fernandes. Look at the impact he's had. The problem with Grealish is he likes to occupy that left forwards part of the pitch. And obviously, Marcus Rashford's on scintillating form at the moment in that position. And, he's one of our best outlets for goals at the moment. So, you wouldn't drop Marcus Rashford. But what Grealish brings for me is leadership in that front line. And that's something we don't particularly have. I think the only player that really has it in that front line is Cavani at the moment. And that's mainly his experience leadership rather than, a natural leader in the respect that Jack Grealish is, or captains that we've had in the past like Roy Keane, etc. He's quite an aggressive captain. He's very brave and courageous, and he always wants the ball. And that's a Manchester United player to me. He can beat a man. He isn't the quickest either. He can beat a man, but he can also whip a ball in, and he can score goals. When things are going badly, he'll grab the ball by the horn and, drive your team forward. And he's been doing that for Aston Villa last year. Basically saved Aston Villa from relegation last year. And, Aston Villa are doing really well this year. They've got games in hand. And if they win those games, they're fighting for Champions League. I mean, you could say that they aren't favourites to do it. But at the end of the day, after half a season gone, they're fighting for it. And, Jack Grealish plays a huge part in that. So obviously the general cost of 150 million is a lot. Glazers won't want to spend that. They don't like spending money. Sometimes we do spend 150 million a summer, but it's rare. But obviously there's another big issue. Will Paul Pogba leave in the summer? You have to believe he is, but he's on scintillating form himself at the moment. This is the best I've seen Paul Pogba at Manchester United. This is the Paul Pogba I thought we were getting when we first signed him, and now I'm a big fan of his talent, but he hasn't had the consistent impact we've all wanted. So if, he does decide to leave and, he wins his title in his last season, farewell. We will get at least 60 million for Paul Pogba. He has a year on his contract left, so of course that's debatable. But if we sell Paul Pogba then we should absolutely get Jack Grealish and Jadon Sancho. Jadon Sancho naturally occupies that right-hand side, and that's a position we desperately need. And, is brilliant at assisting. We've got a lot of outlets up front who like to score goals. But, maybe we could do with a natural wing on that right-hand side. Mason Greenwood's done a job there, but, he isn't a natural right winger. And we want to see him moulded into a striker eventually. And that will bring me on to another point in the moment. But, Jadon Sancho is a natural right forward player, or even a winger, the traditional winger. He's got those kind of abilities in his locker. And he isn't really competing with anybody on that side. Daniel James simply isn't good enough. We could offload him as well, maybe bring in 15, 20 million for him. And, once you start knocking this amount of price from outgoings off the price of the incomings, it obviously the value we're paying for them seems like a lot, but the net spend isn't so big when you bring the finances together. So, we'd ultimately have a forward line if we did sign both of two players occupying the left-hand side, Grealish and Rashford fighting it out. Jack Grealish has never hit the heights of European football, so, he's still got a lot to prove. And Sancho obviously has played for Dortmund, which is a bigger club than Villa, but, he's not took the world by storm yet. He's been very good domestically, but, he's still got a lot to prove if he wants to be one of the best players in the world. He can compete on that right-hand side with Mason Greenwood. And then, of course, we've got Anthony Martial and Cavani fighting for that spot up front. But Cavani's only got a year or two left in him. Actually, I'm saying that, but he's a very mobile player. He's surprised me with his mobility, actually, since he's come in. And, he really does look like a top striker. But eventually, when Cavani does decide to, either retire or move on from Manchester United, when the pace eventually does get too much for him, I'd like to see Mason Greenwood brought up to compete with Anthony Martial for that forward line position, that central striker. And then obviously Diallo can be brought in to compete with Jadon Sancho. Look, I'm talking Football Manager FIFA here, trying to bring in both players because, the two attacking positions aren't the only positions we need in the team. And maybe it's a bit excessive bringing both of them in. But that's just how top clubs move. If this is what Real Madrid wanted to do, they would do it. Obviously, Madrid tend to go for Galacticos, and I wouldn't say Grealish or Sancho are quite Galacticos right now, but they are two players in the mould of what you expect Manchester United to buy. Young, hungry players who are one step away from becoming world class. And that's how we mould players and become the successful team we are. You know, we've done it in the past multiple times. We signed Rooney, Ronaldo. I mean, the list goes on. The list goes on. Players that were just on the cusp of stepping up to that next level. Obviously, people are going to say Brexit FC signing both of them. But, you know, they're good enough. It doesn't matter where you're from. If you're good enough, you're good enough. And with English players, despite the fact, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean they'll be better than a foreign player, one thing you usually get is longevity out of these kind of players because, you know, they're not necessarily looking to move abroad and they kind of understand what the Premier League's all about. So you tend to get longevity out. And when you get longevity out of players, you get a lot of consistency over the long term. So, I mean, just look at that forward line if we were to somehow pull off this miraculous summer transfer spending. Sancho and Greenwood fighting for that right-hand side. Martial and Cavani up front. Rashford and Grealish on the left. Obviously, if we did sell Pogba, Grealish can sometimes play in midfield and compete with Van der Beek and get more game time there. Don't forget, we'll be letting go of not just Lingard, but it looks like Juan Mata's going to eventually depart Manchester United this summer as well. Daniel James just simply isn't good enough in my opinion, unless he, you know, wants to be a 7th choice forward line player. I mean, if Leeds want him, they should pay the money for him and get him because I just don't see him ever breaking into that first team. But, you know, we do need other positions as well. Obviously, we need a defensive midfielder. Matic is eventually going to be on his way out too. I would like to see Fred given more time there personally and alongside Paul Pogba. But, you know, we probably do need a natural defensive midfielder because Fred's more of probably a box-to-box midfielder, really. He presses high. He doesn't just sit and, you know, use his position to break up play. I'm not sure McTominay quite cuts it either. So, you know, maybe we need a defensive midfielder. I don't know who that can be. A lot of people saying Diddy, but he'd be very expensive. I personally think we should get the player from Wolves. I've lost his name now. Anyway, I've lost his name. I'm sure it'll come back to me in a moment. But, you know, and obviously a lot of people think we need a centre-back. I'm not so much on that bandwagon because I think our defence is actually okay. Take away that freak 6-1 loss to Tottenham. And apart from Man City, our defence is around a good level. And it performed quite well last year. And given Eric Bailly can stay fit, we can start pressing that back line forward, which I think is our main defensive problem. Luke Shaw's coming on massively this year because of the competition he has from Tellez. Get a bit of competition in for Bissaka as well. Hopefully he makes that next step up. And that's all leading into what I've been saying about signing both of these players, Grealish and Sancho. Because, okay, Rashford's doing very well at the moment, so it's a bit harsh, but you get Grealish competing with him on that left-hand side. Rashford has to step his game up to that next level and hopefully starts competing for world honours on a personal level. And obviously on the right as well, when Sancho gets there, you know, Diallo eventually comes in. Hopefully they compete and, you know, push each other to that next level. This is what Manchester United's about, having two players in each position that really pushes to that next level due to the competitive nature of it. You know, back in 1999 when, you know, football 4-4-2 was the norm, we had 4 strikers competing for 2 positions. Football's a bit different now. We tend to have 3 forwards. We have the left-sided forward, the right-sided forward, and the central forward striker. You know, you technically need 6 top players to be competing for those 3 roles. That's how I feel anyway. But I generally feel especially with their age, I think Jack Grealish is a lot older, but he's only 25. He's still got a lot of time left in his career. You know, he hasn't hit his peak yet. You know, I believe if we move strongly here, you know, we could compete for years to come. We could then dominate Europe. Well, Europe's a big step, but we could dominate the Premier League and then go on to dominate Europe. I know, I'm dreaming. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you love talking about Manchester United, love talking about transfers, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Keep smashing that like button. And, you know, obviously I'll bring out more videos. Thanks for talking, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Either Grealish or Sancho, or would you go hard and go for both? Looking forward to your comments. See you soon.